Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Noah's Nightmare Podcast. Now, this past weekend, we went to Midsummer Scream, and so much was announced. I'm very excited to share all that with you, as well as kind of give you some insider tips on some of these events and what to expect from them this year. So today, our guests started their journey sharing all the fun events across Southern California, and then quickly grew into events worldwide. Not only do they love sharing Disney content from theme parks around the globe, but they enjoy giving followers an inside look at all the Halloween events in Southern California. They have quickly grown their YouTube channel to almost 40,000 subscribers and have created a website to list all the haunts in Southern California, as well as offering a wide selection of merch across their page. Help me in welcoming one half of the YouTube channel, The Walker Chronicles. We've got Chris.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Noah, for having us.
Yes.
Or having half of us.
Having half of you.
I am the spooky part anyway. So
You are the spooky part.
I am the spooky part. There's no doubt about that. Marina would be screaming most of the time, and I'm there giggling, loving every moment of it.
I love that. Yeah, so we went to Midsummer Scream this past weekend. What did you think about the event overall? Let's just start there, and then we can get into more specifics of panels and presentations and things. But overall, what'd you think?
I thought it was fantastic. I think that Midsummer Scream, obviously, it's the biggest event of the year that we love for Halloween. It kind of kicks off the Halloween season. It had everything I wanted it to have. It had the great panels. It had Hall of Shadows, which is probably my favorite part of the entire event. And the best part about it is it had this huge convention center full of people that love Halloween.
Yeah.
Whether they're creators, whether they're just people that love to go to Halloween events, whether they're designers, whether they're resellers, everybody there loved Halloween, and I can't think of a better place I'd rather be than in a place with everybody who loves Halloween as much as I do.
100%. I think the energy going into it Friday night was just insane. I mean, everybody I talked to that night was like, oh my goodness, the energy in here is crazy. You know, people are ready for this Halloween season. And then things just started getting crazy, and energy was just spread all around the convention center. So I loved it. I had a great time. There were lots of panels and presentations, besides the fire alarm going off for a few hours in the day.
On a couple days.
Yeah, I think it was fine. I think the event was fine. I will say, you know, I am hoping that maybe next year Midsummer Scream can do some more expanding, or at least expanding of some panels.
Right.
Horror Nights panel was just insane. A nightmare to deal with for not only guests trying to get into the panel, but the white bats, the workers at the panel. It was just a mess. They kind of organized it as best as they could. But I'm thinking hopefully next year, if they don't expand, you know, actual physical location, they can at least expand to have a smaller ballroom showcasing what's going on in the main ballroom.
Yeah, I think HHN was by far the biggest panel where you saw that people that wanted to get in were not able to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, just prior, 2 hours before that panel started, they were already lining people up outside. So you knew it was going to be really tough. Most of the panels, everybody got in that they wanted to, which I think is a good thing. But I think maybe they could break it up a little bit. I would love to see Friday expanded so it's not just a nighttime, but it actually takes place all day long. But I know that probably adds another day worth of work and renting out the convention center, which I know is an issue. And I kind of understand why they have a hard time maybe moving it to another convention center, because the Long Beach Convention Center is big enough for everything except for that HHN panel. So I think they need to figure out a way. I think you even suggested maybe taking one of the other unused ballrooms downstairs and piping video into it. So if you can't be there live and in the same room, you can be in a room downstairs and watching it live. I think that would be a good alternative to those people that just won't be able to make it into that giant grand ballroom.
No, I 100% agree. I think also what needs to happen, maybe expand your hours a little bit. I know it ended at 7 o'clock one day and 6 o'clock another day. We're all Halloween people. We're used to being out till midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. for some of these events. So I think even extending the event to 10 o'clock on Saturday night, maybe even Sunday night, would be cool and would allow time in between each panel. Because that was one thing, is like going from panel to panel to panel we rarely had time to go step on that show floor. We rarely had time to go into the Hall of Shadows. That all had to be done Friday for us because Saturday and Sunday were literally back-to-back panels. And I would have loved to go back down in that show floor and look at some more vendors and go back down and spend some more time in the Hall of Shadows. But we didn't really get to do all that because all the major panels were being taken up throughout the majority of the day, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. So I hope they can spread that out and find a way to kind of space them out a little bit more, maybe give major presentations a lot more time in between. And I'm talking major as in like all the big SoCal haunts. So 13th Floor, Not Scary Farm, you know, Dark Harbor, and all the major ones. I feel like those were all kind of right back to back to back. And it made it hard for us to go anywhere else. So hopefully,
it did, and it made it hard for us and the staff, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the people that had to empty that grand ballroom and reload it. They were supposed to do that within 30 minutes, and you knew that wasn't going to be possible. And you can see they manage it incredibly well as they can, but it'd be really tough. I think if they had more panels on Friday during the afternoon, you can get to, because there's a bunch of panels I didn't get to go to. Let alone spend more time on the show floor, like you said. I know everything costs money and the show has to make money in order to exist, but it'd be nice to be able to figure out a way to where, like you said, get more time in the show floor and be able to see some more panels. Because, like I said, there was a few of them that I didn't get to see, like the Home Haunt to Pro Haunt. I really wanted to see that one, but I also wanted to go see the Queen Mary presentation downstairs. And you have to pick and choose, you know. And when we walked out of the 13th floor presentation, we walked right out and got right back in line to go into HHN.
100%.
It's crazy, but it was still a spectacular time. I'm so glad. I'm glad the weekend's over, but I'm also super excited for everything I learned, you know, after this weekend. So.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about the show floor.
Okay.
You enter the building, you enter the Long Beach Convention Center after, you know, waiting outside. And I will say, vast majority of the lines problems that they had last year at the event were taken care of this year. There were no major lines standing out in the sun for hours upon hours every day. They fixed that problem. They made it very efficient. They had, you know, the way of checking people's bags without having them fully stop unless they needed to stop. Having badges out. They had enough white bats out there checking everybody's everything. So kudos to them on that. They fixed that problem. You know, there was not a lot of major waiting around, people standing outside in the heat for a long time. Good job, Midsummer Scream. You guys did that.
Very good job.
So
it was very organized and not a lot of people trying to cut in line either, I noticed this year. It was actually really clean the way everybody seemed to be. Everybody was respecting the rules. It was nice to see.
Yes. So walking into the Long Beach Convention Center, you're greeted with the big Midsummer Scream sign and the cats up on the balcony of the second floor. And then you go downstairs and enter the show floor. Now, the show floor is home to the show floor stage. They have the kid little pumpkin patch, and then they have hundreds of vendors and the Hall of Shadows. Let's just talk about some of these vendors. Walking around Friday night, I saw some really cool things. There were some amazing vendors there, and I wish I had gotten time to go back down there and look more and shop more. There were just some crazy things down there. Lots of cool merch, a ton of cool shirts. They had people making masks, people making, you know, all sorts of things. I don't know if there was something that stuck out to you walking down there, but there was a lot going on down there. There was tons happening.
I think the areas that stood out is the fact that there was the most amazing amount of talent in that single room. And this goes from everybody that was making stuff at home and bringing it to the show floor to sell, to the professional level, the mask manufacturers, to figurine manufacturers. There's people that, you know, they take existing Funko Pops and turn them into something like horror artwork. There were so many things that stood out. And they had live visual effects people. There were people giving live tattoos on the floor as well. Yeah. If you wanted a Midsummer Scream tattoo.
Crazy.
It was everything. I mean, literally, it was this big community of people that loved Halloween, and it was from every level, like I said, home manufactured stuff to professional level stuff. But yeah, anything you were looking for that was haunt related, you could find there, from special effects to masks to costumes to
to treats,
mini
even.
escape rooms they had. Yeah, it was crazy.
Things
Drinks,
you could
food.
eat. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was fantastic.
And then
it was
obviously
fantastic.
you had all the celebrities down there. You had Elvira doing meet and greets. You had some of the cast
All the
of the
signings,
Black
yeah.
Phone down there. You had, Jason himself down there meeting and greeting.
Yeah.
And then you had major Six Flags, Not Scary Farm, Universal experiences. They had their booths down there too, and they went all out. I think everybody who had a booth there, Castle Dark, everybody went all out with their booth and just really displayed kind of what was happening this season, trying to give you little hints if they weren't announcing things of what was going on. I know Not Scary Farm had their lantern interaction. You had photo ops with all the IPs at the Six Flags one. Castle Dark had little hints of things coming. And then Universal had a bunch of merch and things. And so did 13th Floor. They had LA Haunted Hayride there. And they had all the characters from Dark Harbor. Just so much cool stuff to look at and meet down there. People to meet and characters to see, and that doesn't even include the cosplayers that come in from outside and do their own thing in there.
They're amazing.
Yeah, some of those people are so talented. There really is nothing like Midsummer Scream. It's hard to explain because a lot of people are like, that's probably not for me because I'm not into getting scared. But I feel like a lot of the stuff outside of the Hall of Shadows isn't there to scare you. Yes, occasionally you get that one thing that runs by and tries to scare you, or somebody runs by and tries to scare you, but you can feel like a deep love of just Halloween and horror and all of that throughout that room, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like we mentioned, the bigger theme parks that had all their characters running around, whether it was the Dark Harbor booth or Haunted Hayride. But what I love the fact is you had some elaborate makeup that was being done. Six Flags had Miss Margarita out running around that looked amazing. They had the prop set up for their key IP mazes this year. But it's funny, the one that stood out, which I thought looked remarkable and also the creepiest, was the witch from Castle Dark.
Yes.
The witch was out yesterday, and she looked unbelievable.
Yes.
She just looked great. It was amazing makeup, amazing costume, amazing props she had with her. I mean, everybody looked amazing, but that one really stood out to me as being very, very creepy looking, and I like the creepy, so that one definitely stood out. But everybody was fantastic. Yeah. It was it's amazing how much effort everybody goes in just to look like their favorite character or to promote their favorite characters at that event.
100%. I think another really cool thing about Midsummer Scream is the Hall of Shadows, and that's located right down in the show floor as well. So, you walk down the show floor, you see all the vendors, you see all the major haunts, and then you make a right, and written right there on the wall, displayed right there on the wall, says Hall of Shadows. And a lot of people don't know what to expect when it's their first time, and they're like, what is the Hall of Shadows? It's dark in there, I hear people screaming. It's basically where tons of home haunts and now professional haunts and, all sorts of people who just love Halloween and put on haunts during the season come and give you a taste of what to expect from them. So you walked in this year and the entire front was done by Fear Farm. They had a walkthrough in there. You had a ton of their characters scaring in there. But there was just so much going on in the Hall of Shadows. Gears of Fear by Lionsgate was debuting in there this year, which is the first major motion picture studio to do a maze in the Hall of Shadows. You had the Haunted Car Wash in there, Helizondo Haunt in there, Direct Society in there. There was just tons of home haunts and people who love haunts putting stuff together in there, as well as shows. They had a Decayed Brigade slider show in there. Let's talk about that a little bit. What stood out to you in the Hall of Shadows? I know everything was super cool, super amazing. There was not one thing that I was like, yeah, that's not worth it. Everything in there was totally amazing. So what stood out to you? What was like the number one thing you went to in the Hall of Shadows? What were you looking forward to? Did it deliver?
Well, I was looking forward definitely to Gears of Fear, the Lionsgate. The fact that they were going to bring these amazing IPs to this event and to have a big studio put all their money in it, and Plague Productions we knew was putting everything together. They were focusing on one of my favorite IPs, which is Cabin in the Woods. I was looking for that Fear Farm, which I think you and I both love Fear Farm. And the fact that they got that whole main entrance, they got to bring their ghost town that they had normally in front of their house, and knowing this year that they're going to move to a much larger location and bring all this new stuff to it was great. But one of the haunts that stood out to me was Elizondo Haunt.
Yeah,
I thought that was an amazing, and I think looking back at some of the history, that actually is a home haunt, and they had amazing sets and animatronics and actors. That haunt only had 2 scare actors in it, but they popped out in like 8 different times as you walk through because of the clever maze design, the clever reveals they did. I thought it was really cool. It's a very environmental. When you're in that area, you didn't realize you were in the Hall of Shadows. You thought you were at a haunt.
Yeah.
And even though the little taste of it, they were really, really well done. The haunted car wash, of course, fantastic, always is. And I'll tell you, if you're going to go to the haunted car wash this year, which you should do in 2 different locations, make sure you leave your doors unlocked. That's all I'm going to say. If you want the full experience, leave your doors
unlocked, and you might have a friend join you.
Yeah, Drake Society or Drayage Society. I'm sure I'm butchering that.
I probably have been too.
But it was Scooby-Doo based. That's a family-friendly style event. It was fun. Yeah.
Which I loved.
There was nothing in there that I disliked.
Yes,
nothing. Everything in there was great.
100%. That Scooby-Doo maze was so much fun. You had that moment at the end where all the doors were lined up and they were running through one door trying to chase each other, just like in the show.
Just like the cartoon.
It just literally, it was so cool. Santa Ana Haunt had a really cool...
oh, yes. How could I forget Santa Ana Haunt?
Walkthrough. Yeah, they had an awesome walkthrough where you actually exited, and then if you were 21 plus, there was a bar that was connected to it where you can order drinks, and there were actually windows cut out in the bar where you can look in and watch people get scared in the maze, which I thought was cool. But that wasn't the only haunt doing that. So Lionsgate also did that in their maze. They had right around the corner outside of the Hall of Shadows, they had their booth set up where they were like selling all their merch and stuff, and they had live camera feeds in the maze and buttons you got to push and actually trigger things in the maze, which is why I probably got blasted in the face with some air. It was just, it was so cool. All the creative teams from each one of these haunts did a really great job. Rick West did an amazing job putting that all together too in the Hall of Shadows.
As usual, yeah.
Just
phenomenal. I'll say the Santa Ana Haunt one was unique to me because every time you normally go to a haunt, they're putting you in you're in the dark, right?
Yeah.
You're in this low light situation. Santa Ana Haunt went differently. You were never in a dark location. You were in a warehouse. You were being hunted. But it was a brighter environment and still played out incredibly spooky. And they had me jumping a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really local to both of us.
Yeah.
So I know we'll be making out there at least a couple times this year.
Yeah. Kudos to everybody out in the Hall of Shadows, everybody out on the show floor. I just wish there would have been more time for us to go down there and just literally give love to all of you, because you all are doing such amazing things. I cannot wait to just go to some other of these pop-ups where you're selling your stuff and you're putting on mini haunts and stuff like that. I cannot wait to see what you guys do this season. Just so much fun downstairs. But then the craziness happens, Chris. Friday night ends. Everyone thinks, all right, successful. That was great. We had a great time. Did some shopping, did all these haunts. And then Saturday hits you. And you look at your schedule and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm jumping from panel to panel to panel. And you can't miss any of these because they're all dropping major announcements.
Of course.
Yeah, so
of course.
We get there Saturday and we start off with Castle Dark. Now, they released their entire lineup for the season, which is very exciting. They have their own booth out there as well. Let's just kind of talk about what Castle Dark announced so far. I think they're going to have 4 mazes total, and I want to say 3 shows and then a party. They announced some merch too. They first started off with their mazes. They kind of went in detail with some of them. They announced Fun House of the Demented, which I guess was clowns escaping some sort of correctional facility or
during a power outage.
Yeah, during a power outage, which is kind of creepy. I would think so, at least. They announced Labyrinth, which is going to be their largest maze, and it's kind of like one of those mazes where they literally want you to get lost. that there's no
Yeah,
real.
it's a literal hedge maze.
Yeah, there's
like a hedge maze, like from The Shining.
Exactly.
Like the ending of The Shining. It's supposed to be a hedge maze.
Exactly. There's one way in, one way out, but there's all these twists and turns throughout. So you have to find your way out, basically. And then they announced something really cool this year: a VR maze, Sinister Inn, which was also out on the show floor. I didn't get a chance to go look at them, but I'm gonna definitely check them out at Castle Dark. I think that's an extra cost on top of the mazes that they have there. And then the coolest one to me was their seance maze. So I guess that one starts off with you literally participating in a seance.
With a Ouija board.
With a Ouija board. And then they go on to say you are given a candle, and that's all you have to walk through the rest of this maze in the pitch black, trying to escape this character, the witch that we met. She was so creepy. Seeing that in the dark is going to be insane.
I can't, especially if it's lit up by candlelight.
Yes.
Because her eyes and her mouth were a little blacked out on the teeth.
Yes.
And her eyes were kind of covered. And she's carrying like a wooden staff with little carvings in it, with little bones hanging from it. She looked really
amazing.
good. I can't imagine. And don't forget what Joseph said, too, about that candle.
Yeah, it may not always stay on, is what he was saying.
It may not always stay on. It's not under our control
Woo!
either. So
that is
you might be
crazy.
in the pitch dark and then immediately come on, and that witch could be standing there right in front of you.
Which is going to be so scary.
That's the crazy part. That's what I want to happen. I really want that to happen.
No,
I want the lights to go out and come on. I'm surrounded by evil things. That's what I want to happen.
I agree. And then they go into talking about their shows. So they had a few new shows coming. They had their Slider show, which is going to be returning there. They had Countess Allura, which I guess is like a dance show. They did show that off at Midsummer Scream. I never got a chance to go down there and visit.
On the stage, yeah.
But they do have that coming to the event as well. And then Tea Time with Lady Lou, where I guess she's going to be talking about all the gossip in the kingdom and spilling all the tea, which sounds very interesting.
It does sound interesting. So that's the one thing about it. Besides the Slider show, because we know it's going to be a battle between two different groups. The other ones, they didn't give a whole lot of detail. The dance one, the Countess Allura, but the Tea Time, I'm not sure exactly what to expect. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. They did announce some of their merch and showed us some pictures of that, which just kind of has all their icon characters all over it, which looked very cool. They also announced a tasting card for this event this year, which is also very cool because they like to do their tastings there. We have done their tastings at the Mardi Gras events and stuff like that. So it's cool that we're going to be getting one for this event as well. And then in the Big Top, they announced a after party, a Halloween themed after party with drinking and dancing, and that's going to be taking place from 10 to 11:30. So after you get all the scares out of the way and do some eating, go into the Big Top and just party the night away.
Yeah, Castle Dark After Dark.
Yeah,
I think is what they called it.
That's so cool. I think that's awesome.
It is very cool. Very cool.
This year, I do want to remind people, if you visit Castle Dark, they do have a chaperone policy and a bag policy now. So you can go to their website and check all that out as well, so you can be prepared to go. And I think tickets are already on sale if you want to book your time at Castle Dark now. They are available for purchase. So then,
and they sell family packs of tickets as well at discounted rates if you want to bring the whole family.
So worth
which
it.
I think is a great option.
And I think Castle Dark is a really good introduction to haunts because you get the scary, you get the fun, but it's not as intense as some of these other haunts. I would say this is a good introduction. Somebody who's like, I'm not 100% sure if I'm into this haunt stuff, or you have a little one who's kind of nervous to go and do Scary Farm or Horror Nights, but wants to try a haunt. Castle Dark is perfect for that. So I think bringing anybody who's unsure would be a really good idea.
Yeah, I'm super excited because they said they were bringing back special effects to some of the mazes. They have a new maze designer, probably the youngest maze designer, Colton.
Yeah.
So I'm really anxious to see what he's going to bring us this year.
Yeah, I'm very excited for all of that. So then the panel ends, and we're like, okay, we get a little bit of a break. No, we did not. We got maybe a 5-minute break to run to the next panel. So then we get hit in the face with Six Flags Fright Fest Extreme. Now I'm going to run a video really quickly. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see this video. If not, you can enjoy the sounds of this video. But I'm going to roll it really quick.
This fall at Six Flags, something epic is coming. Featuring brand new mazes inspired by iconic horror franchises, Six Flags Fright Fest is scarier and stranger than ever.
Looks so
crazy. Good. Six Flags Fright Fest Extreme. Oh, and look at him right here at the end, laying down after he got hit by the
bus. He survived.
He survived.
Or he came back.
But he looks like he's going to come back in zombie form or something. It looks a little crazy.
I think so.
Six Flags Fright Fest Extreme. Tickets are on sale now. They announced everything, I think, right? They didn't hold back on anything. They announced everything.
They had one new maze announcement. They had already announced the Stranger Things Conjuring Universe Saw 20th Anniversary Army of the Dead Trick or Treat, but then they also announced Aftermath Nocturnal Hunt.
Yes,
was a new maze they announced. Plus all the new scare zones, which they announced at the event as well.
Yeah. They also, showed off that they were going to be bringing back some of the old mazes, their original stuff, Condemned, Truth or Dare, Vault 666, Sewers of Souls. All of those are going to be returning. And then they talked about some of the scare zones, and some of them sounded so cool. Some of these new scare zones sounded awesome. The Underworlds of Oz, I thought was the coolest.
I know.
You're stepping into the Wizard of Oz and meeting all these characters. And we actually got to meet one of the monkeys, the flying monkeys down on the show floor at Midsummer Scream. And he was crazy.
Yep.
So I think a lot of this stuff's going to be very cool.
I want to be attacked by the cowardly lion is what I want. That's what I want to happen. And one of the things they pointed out too is when it came to the Conjuring universe and Saw 20th Anniversary, they stressed the fact that they added a bunch of new stuff to it. So they're not going to be the same experience as we had last year or even at Scream Break this year. So they're calling those things new mazes for this year. So I'm expecting a lot of changes. They're going to call them new, but super looking forward to it. And Trick or Treat. They're taking a totally different route on Trick or Treat by going back to some of the old comic books.
Yes.
And not necessarily basing it directly on the movies as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing some new stuff. And I have to go out and buy some of these graphic novels now for Trick or Treat so I know what could possibly happen.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff sounded so cool. They're bringing IPs, and I think that's a very good move for them. And working directly with some of these companies, Netflix, they kept saying our partnership with Netflix. So, getting Netflix's input on this and working with some of the directors of these films and people who are heavily involved with some of these IPs is going to be very cool to see. So I'm excited for Six Flags Fright Fest Extreme. They did have a date change on their website. I just want to point that out. I think one of the other podcasts I talked about the date that they originally had, but I think now it says September 19th on their website. So they pushed it back a little bit.
From the 7th to the 19th, yeah.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind if you're planning on attending Six Flags Fright Fest Extreme. And it is a separate ticket this year, so that's going to be a big thing as well. They were talking about literally now that they're adding some of these new scare zones, there is nowhere to hide in the park, which kind of sounds almost like a Not Scary Farm type thing, where there's really nowhere you can walk in Scary Farm and not get scared. Like, you can't walk in the front gate and not get scared. There's monsters there. It's hard.
Yeah, and they've got, they said it several times, they will be the largest Halloween event in Southern California. If you add up the scare zones and the mazes, there's over 20 of them.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So,
I think that's kind of
crazy.
what they're trying to play on this year is the largest aspect of the whole thing. We want to be the biggest. Yep. We want to have the most things to do. And I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see some of these IPs come to life. Hopefully they all come to life at one time, sooner than later, and they're not spread out throughout the season and opening slowly. And I hope they can get them all done kind of in one time frame, so when you do decide to visit, you can do it all.
No. It's a big undertaking, I know that.
It is. So then we leave Fright Fest, and we entered into a Dark Harbor panel. Which is separate from 13th Floor's panel, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we got to kind of go into Dark Harbor and listen to specifics for that event. So I have a promo here that I'm going to run, and you guys can check it out if you're watching the video.
We won't give up the ship. Have you missed me?
I love that promo. That promo fully encompasses Dark Harbor and what it was before it closed down, and just hearing them talk about some of these things at the panel really excites me for what they're going to do this year.
Yeah, I have never experienced Dark Harbor before. I'm almost a little ashamed to admit that, but I can see and feel the excitement of everybody else, so enthusiastic that it's coming back. I'm very familiar with 13th Floor Productions, so I'm super stoked. And because they gave us that little taste of the one maze on the ship during Shacktoberfest last year, I can't imagine some of these new mazes they're talking about being on the maze, like in was it Infirmary, or which I can't remember all the details, but yeah, I am super stoked.
They announced
so much
a ton of mazes. They announced Lullaby's returning with Scary Mary. That one is a crowd favorite. That's the one that takes you right by the pool and takes you right into the heart of the ship. The bridge is going to be dropping again. I know that's like one of the fan favorite things that happens at Dark Harbor. Those mazes are going to be returning. You got B340 coming back, which is another maze that they're doing again this year. And just side note, off topic, the Queen Mary by itself, the Queen Mary had their own panel talking about their experiences, like the Great Ghost Project and 47 Ghosts and all their paranormal tours. But they announced that B340, the actual room on the ship, is going to be available to rent again nightly. You can stay there and, spend the night in the most haunted room on the Queen Mary, which sounds very exciting.
It does. Just imagine, you go, that room is so famous, they have a dedicated maze about how scary it is and terrifying it is, and then you could actually just go spend the night in that exact same room.
Which is so crazy.
That is awesome.
I think we're going to have to do that. I think that'll be something that I put on my list this year to do, is stay the night in B340. But
it's like going to spend the night at the Amityville.
It's crazy.
Whorehouse.
It's crazy. How many people can say they've spent the night in the most haunted room on the Queen Mary, which is arguably one of the most haunted places in the world?
Yeah.
So then they announced different new mazes like Infirmary and Breakout.
Yep. Yeah, Sam the Savage.
Which are going to be cool. They have all the icons kind of playing into some of these mazes. You've got Scary Mary and Lullaby. In the Infirmary maze, you had, is that the Butcher?
The Butcher's Feast.
The Butcher's Feast. That's one I did not talk about. So
Yeah.
Feast is also returning. That one was a maze in 2019, and the icon in that maze was the chef. But they were saying the fans didn't really grasp onto the idea of the chef. They didn't like the idea of this character. So they changed it around, and they changed the story, and they're now using the Butcher, who is taking first-class passengers as they're leaving dinner and, parties and stuff on the ship, and literally turning them into the meal that they're giving the next guests. And you are going to be some of those first-class passengers that are walking by and trying to escape the Butcher in Feast. But then you got Big Top of Terror as well with the Ringmaster. That one's another one that was really fun. And just all these characters are going to be so involved with this event throughout not only the mazes, but the shows. And they're doing an entire experience at the beginning of the night before the event starts where you can pick up your bar tokens. So those used to be a big thing back in the day. Dark Harbor is trying to get a bar token out of these characters that had them. Every character would hold a certain amount of bar tokens and would give them out randomly to guests. So now you can actually get these bar tokens at an event that they're doing before the actual kickoff to the mazes and all that. They're going to do a little pre-show where they're handing this stuff out.
I think it was called Maiden Voyage.
The Maiden
is what they were
Voyage,
gonna call it.
So they're going to have some of these characters out there handing out tokens and stuff. And these tokens get you into the secret bars that are found throughout their mazes. So some on the ship, some off the ship, some not even connected to mazes.
Right, and if you don't get one by chance, you can also buy one this year
Correct,
as
that
well.
is something new.
You can buy tokens.
Yeah, so that's going to be very cool to see again, because some of these bars were just crazy. You're walking like halfway through this maze, and you get to a point in the Queen Mary, and there's like the continuation of the maze, and then like some person standing in like a pitch black corner. And you're like, what is going on? And if you had one of these tokens, they would take you to this pitch black corner, and you would turn the corner, and there's a bar in the middle of the maze that would shoot you right out into the rest of the maze when you were done. It was absolutely insane. I'm very excited for that to come back. They announced, the Surgeon's coming back. Graceful Gale is going to be a character. And then kind of talked about some of the stuff you can see, like slider shows that they used to have there. Queen Mary was known for their slider shows. That was like a crazy part of Queen Mary's Dark Harbor was these slider shows. And the swing is coming back. That was a huge fan favorite, was the swing.
It was.
Which I'm excited to get Chris on.
And it's yeah, sure. But the crazy part is, and obviously I didn't go in the past, but it's the exact same swing they used to have back at the original Dark Harbor
Yeah, which
days.
is awesome.
They were able to look at the exact same one and
Which
use
is
it.
awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then they're bringing...
I can't wait for this
Yeah,
event.
they're bringing back some of the iconic food spots to the taco place, and there were a couple,
Diablo.
Scary Mary's ice cream or whatever they announced over there.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff announced. You can watch. We have it on our channel on the Walker Chronicles. You can watch the entire presentation and the panel of everything they announced in more detail than we're giving you here, of course.
So very, very excited for this event. We got everything pretty much from Dark Harbor. A lot of this stuff was announced at their actual panel, and then some of it, small bits of it, like the Feast Maze was announced at the 13th floor panel, which we're going to talk about now. Let's just get into 13th floor. So Saturday ended, day 2 began, and 13th floor had their panel. So I'm very excited for some of the stuff that they talked about. Dark Harbor's one that I'm very excited for. Delusion, obviously. Let's get into some Delusion talk. They announced it's returning this year, and it's going to LA.
Yeah, it's no longer in Pomona anymore, which was where it's been the last 3 years, which was an amazing, that Phyllis mentioned. It was the perfect place to hold an event like this. But now they're going to Los Angeles to the Stimson House. But the new show is called The Red Castle.
I'm excited.
The Red Castle. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And, we had heard last year that John Braver was going to kind of step back from the Delusion series and let somebody else take it over. But that's not at all what happened at Luke Pierce. He was on stage talking about it, promoting it, talking about how he wrote the treatment.
Yeah.
So I think he's 100% still in. And, I cannot wait, and the location is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
You want to talk about kind of the synopsis of that, Chris? I think they kind of
Yeah.
said something.
So they went back. So last year's event was kind of little, not a rehashing or retelling of kind of the entire Delusion story, a little bits and pieces from all the previous year's events. This year they're going back to the 2012 Delusion that was called Blood Rites, and kind of a continuation of that story as well. And there's kind of like the quick synopsis they put on the up a slide that said, with the death of his wife, a banished psychologist spirals down the dark path of resurrection, swallowing his former patients into his tragic pursuit. So what I take of that is his wife dies. He wants to bring her back, and he doesn't mind killing some of his current patients and getting whatever he needs to bring his wife back to life. So knowing that, I'm assuming we're probably going to end up being one of his patients. And they're going to try to use us to help bring his wife back, is my guess is what this is going to play out to be.
I think that's what's happening.
And if you've never been to a Delusion event in the past, you really don't know how immersive a Halloween event can be. You are actually part of the event. I can literally tell you, the first year I went, at one point in time we were being chased by these zombie-like creatures. I was standing in the kitchen and somebody handed me a rifle and said that if somebody comes through that door, and there were people banging on the door, I had to shoot them. They came through the door, I shot. The shotgun sounded just like a real shotgun, it felt like a real shotgun, and that guy went launching off the patio and into the backyard. It scared the you-know-what out of me. One of my favorite events. I look forward to the event every year, and we usually go multiple times even though the story doesn't change.
Yes.
Because it's always something new, and the actors sell it so well. It literally is an unbelievable event.
Really is. It's unlike anything you can get in Southern California. I think the best way to kind of describe what Delusion is a haunt meets like live theater. You're watching this show play out in front of you, but not only is it playing out in front of you, you are playing a part in this show. You are now doing things that these actors are asking you to do. You're being ripped apart from the group. You know, you, and you. You're coming with me. You guys are staying here. You guys keep watch. We're gonna go do that. There's so much happening. There's so much involvement between the guests and the actors and the whole just overall production of the entire thing. So definitely check out Delusion this year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, there's parts where you come with your group. Like I obviously went with Marina, and one year, and next you know, people took her away from me. And the next time we saw her, she was tied up in a rope, laying on the floor, about to be sacrificed. So, yeah, that happened.
It's crazy. It's so much fun. Delusion is so much fun.
Crazy.
As long as you follow the rules of everybody and listen to what the actors are saying and do what they want you to do, you'll have an amazing time. You'll meet back up with your group. It's just incredible. And always volunteer for things at Delusion. If they ask, like, who wants to do this, just raise your hand, because trust me, it'll be super cool. It'll be super cool.
They will. It is a physical event, though, too. That's one thing I'll say.
Yes, it is very physical.
It's a physical event.
You are running, you're crawling, you're ducking down and trying to hide from people. But then there's stunts that Delusion does that are unlike anything you see. I've been to Delusions where, there are people jumping from the second, third stories of this house down to the first and making it just seem like they've leaped off this thing, and it was just crazy. People coming up out of the dirt, out of a tombstone, and literally pulling themselves out of the floor. You would have never guessed they were down there, covered with dirt. It was just insane. The production level and things that John Braver and his team come up with are just beyond anything you can get at any of these theme parks or other haunts. It's a very immersive and very unique to this haunt season.
It is truly movie level stunts. They actually hire real stunt people for a lot of these things. It's crazy. It is
absolutely insane.
Definitely worth it.
Another thing worth checking out this year, LA Haunted Hayride. So they're coming back with their 16th year and announced that they're redoing a lot of their stuff. Some things are changing around at LA Hayride. We're obviously still stuck in this Midnight Falls town. We're still seeing some of these iconic characters, the prom queen and what is the clown's name? I can never remember his name. Do you remember his name?
Oh, I don't remember.
There's this clown,
Oh,
Hendel, is that his name?
Of course.
Something like that.
I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah,
he's one of the icons. You got the jock there. You got, all these iconic characters.
Yep.
Monty Revolta, I'm sure, is coming back. He was the one who kind of started off this panel. But they announced some of these things getting updates and changes. The Trick or Treat maze is coming back, but it's getting an entire facelift. 80% of it is getting redone. They're re-adding the doors and the doorbells, so you can ring those as you're walking through the maze. Is it Hellbilly? Hellbilly Halloween is coming back as well.
Hellbilly Halloween's coming back. They didn't say that one really changed much. They said it was coming back. But that one's
newer. So that one I think was new last year.
It is.
So it's just returning. And that one was pretty good last year.
Yep.
Midnight Mortuary is now Monet Manor. So let's talk a little bit about that. That was crazy. They were like, we're going to share with everybody what's coming up next. And then they started this video. And all these pictures of Janelle Monáe started flashing across the screen. And I was like, what is happening? And then her music starts playing. And I was like, what is going on? I looked back at Chris and I was like, what is going on? What is happening? And then Janelle Monáe came on the screen and was like, hey, Midsummer Scream, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm very excited for you to come visit my brand new maze at LA Haunted Hayride, Monet Manor. So Janelle Monáe now has her own maze at LA Haunted Hayride, which is kind of exciting. I just don't know what to expect.
Neither do I. Some people are big fans of, like, when The Weeknd did Universal, and while the maze was fine, I don't know what the correlation between him and a haunted maze is. I kind of have the same feeling about this one, so I'm hoping they go all out and they surprise me, and I'm really happy about it. It's what I'm hoping for. I can't wait to see what they've done, because I'm not usually a big fan of. If I want a horror maze, I want it somebody iconic. I want a Rob Zombie maze. I want an Alice Cooper maze. Somebody that has something to do with horror. But I'll be curious to see. She says in the video that she wants to be the Scream Queen of Halloween.
She does.
If that's true, then let's put her in a good horror movie. Let's have her direct a horror movie. Let's have her do some makeup ads or something for horror makeup or something. Let's be who you say you want to be, and then I'll be all in. And is this a single year thing, or are they going to swap it every year with somebody different? I guess it depends on how popular it is, but we'll see. I'm super excited for it.
Talking about a Janelle Monáe maze and then touching back on the weekend happening at Universal, is this something that we're going to see from theme parks going forward, or who gets the best artist that year? Who gets the best musical artist and can do the best maze with it? Because Knott's Scary Farm, you better pick up Lady Gaga. I'm going to throw that out there. You better pick up Lady Gaga or Billie Eilish before Horror Nights does, because you guys could kill that maze.
No Gwen? You don't want Gwen's
want Gwen? Not scary enough. Gwen's not. I would love Gwen at Knott's. You know me. I'm Gwen Stefani's number one fan.
I know.
But I feel like a Gaga maze or a Billie Eilish maze, because they kind of have some sort of correlation into the horror world. Even if Knott's Scary Farm picked up an Alice Cooper or a Rob Zombie, I think that'd be cool too. But if that's the direction that these theme parks are now going, with trying to compete head-to-head with who gets the best artist and what they can do.
The best celebrity,
and
exactly.
I think it's good marketing. It opens, an entire genre up to these people who are fans of this artist and are not necessarily horror fans, or not necessarily LA Haunted Hayride fans or Horror Nights fans. They're just fans of The Weeknd or fans of Janelle Monáe, and now they're going to go because their favorite artist is having a maze or doing whatever. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think it is cool. The one thing that I'm curious about is they said that she would be making an appearance in the mazes probably several different nights. You probably won't know who she is, but she'll be in the maze scaring you.
So I don't know if that's actually Janelle Monáe coming and scaring you, or if it's going to be some sort of character that is made to look like her in the maze scaring you. I don't know. They definitely said she would make it there and she would be doing it on a few nights. I hope I'm there the night she does it, because I would love to talk to her.
So am I.
They also announced that the Hayride is coming back, and they want to make it a lot more immersive with the audience in the actual Hayride. So they talked about the beach balls and how we had to hit those away and stuff like that. They were kind of alluding to how can we touch the guests with it still being safe for our staff. So I think we're going to see a lot of things like that happening this year. How are they going to be able to literally physically touch us and interact with us, but still make it safe for these things? Because these hayrides are big.
Yep.
They're big. If somebody
Yeah,
gets
it's a
knocked
vehicle.
over by one of these or gets run over with one of these, there's some serious injuries or possibly even a death there. Because they're very, very big.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to accidentally have something happen. They got to keep their actors safe. They got to keep the guests safe. We can't have guests falling out of them. We can't have actors getting hit with them. So it's going to be cool seeing kind of what they do. And then they announced that they're bringing some mini escape games there, which I thought was cool. That's going to be interesting to see what they do.
I think so too.
And then
We saw the little zombie shooter thing last year.
they're
which
just
was
kind
new.
of trying to add things that you can do besides just waiting in line for the hayride or the mazes, which I think is also very cool. They announced a new show, Madame Aurora Seance. So that should be cool. They said it's what happens when a seance goes wrong. It's 4D, fully interactive with the guests. I think that'll be very cool to experience. And then the merry-go-round that's been sitting there forever that you never got to ride, you're actually going to get to ride it this year. They're like redoing the entire thing and like just going all out with this merry-go-round.
Yeah, I think that had to be incredibly expensive to refurbish that and make the skeletons of the animals rideable. Because I'm assuming before they were just there for aesthetics
100%.
and not designed to have a 200-pound person sitting on top of it. So I think they probably spent a huge expense to get that going because probably so many people saying, "What's the point of having it if we can't get on
True.
it?" So I think that's kudos to them for making that investment.
Yeah, I'm very excited to visit LA Haunted Hayride this year. But another event from 13th floor that I'm excited to visit is Magic of the Jack-O-Lanterns. And I got a promo here to play really quickly.
There we go.
So this is your more family-friendly type of event that 13th floor is doing. This is something that you can take the kids to, regardless of their age. You can take, you can go on a date night there. You can bring grandma to this one. This is one of those ones that is for the whole family. Lots of really cool jack-o'-lantern displays and activities for the kids to do. They said they were going to bring like bounce houses and stuff over there and little activities for kids to do as well, rather than just walk around and look at these awesome displays. But something that they touched on this time around in the panel was that people loved the synchronized show that they did last year, and it was like a small group of pumpkins that all lit up and did something, and they said the audience feedback from that was just crazy. So this year they took it to that next level, and they are doing a 100% synchronized show throughout the entire Magic of the Jack-O-Lanterns, which is cool.
So rather than that one portion of it being synchronized with audio and and video and music and all this stuff, now what they've done is they've taken the entire show and doing it, the entire event, which is going to be crazy.
I think that's awesome.
That's going to be crazy. It's going to be awesome.
I think that is so cool because that's
going to be awesome.
That's definitely. I haven't been to that event, but I'm definitely making it out there this year because it sounds super cool.
Absolutely,
and I want to see everything that they do over there because I saw their little thing in the Hall of Shadows and it looked very, very cool.
Yeah, that little portion of that set up.
I'm very excited to see what they do with that this year. We didn't get much information from them, but tickets for that should be on sale soon if they're not already. And then let's talk about Knott's Scary Farm. I'm going to roll a promo here real quick. So it's crazy to me that the Not Scary Farm panel didn't really announce much. Actually, it's not that crazy to me because they do have their own announcement event, the Nightmares Revealed event, taking place August 22nd. And I think tickets are going to go on sale August 5th at 10 a.m. So if you're interested in doing that, definitely check that out. But we got really no announcement from Not Scary Farm, not even a hint of an announcement at this Not Scary Farm panel, besides the fact that it's Waxworks' last year.
It's made me sad.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they announce at their event. I will say, thinking about Waxworks and being placed right back there in 2019, another maze that showed up with Waxworks was Origins. So I can see that one going away this year as well. Definitely make sure you're checking out Waxworks. And if they announce that Origins is going away, make sure you stop in there and definitely do that maze as well. Something interesting was during the Elvira panel, they announced Scary Farm stuff. It was a 30-minute Elvira panel, and for the 30 minutes they talked about Not Scary Farm. So, Chris, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was the first surprise, is that the entire Elvira event was 100% Scary Farm. The big event was that Elvira, they're building an Elvira experience inside the Walter Knott Theater for this year during Scary Farm. And inside there, it's going to be kind of like a walk-through museum. They're going to have props from her show at Knott's. They're going to have videos from over the 20 Not Scary Farm shows that she did playing on the screen. They're going to have outfits. They're going to have her, I'm going to call it a sofa, but her lounge chair that she used to sit inside. They're going to have props from the Elvira mazes that they had throughout the years. And also Cassandra is going to be in the park on 3 separate nights doing autographs. So it's going to be kind of cool that you get to see all these things that you may have never seen, and she's so iconic to Not Scary Farm. I think just having this event there. Am I a little disappointed that we're not going to have Monsters of Mayhem again? I loved having that live show there, but obviously they want to give Elvira her due. She is there is no more iconic character to most of us, at least in my age, and I'm over 50, than Elvira, because I wasn't there when we had Sinister Seymour. But yeah, this was a huge announcement that I'm kind of shocked didn't get announced during the Knott's panel. But Elvira gets what Elvira wants, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I am a little sad, too, that there's no Music Monsters and Mayhem show coming back. But this Elvira walkthrough should be pretty cool. I'm definitely going to stop in there and see all of this, as well as maybe even catch her doing one of the signings one night. So that's very exciting.
Yeah.
They also announced a bunch of merch for Elvira. They had shirts with her all over it. They had
the pins.
Yeah, pins with Elvira. So lots of Elvira merch was announced for Scary Farm as well. And then I want to just touch on small things that Carl did at the end of the Elvira panel that really had nothing to do with Elvira. He lifted up one of those Loungefly backpacks that they released for Scary Farm 50th last year. And this time the design was purple. Looks like the exact same bag, but purple. I know last year was red. This time was purple. I wonder if it's themed to Elvira as well. I think it said Scary Farm 50th on it somewhere on that bag. So I wonder if they switched that out with Elvira, because I know her kind of signature color is purple as well. And then he had these shoulder plushes that he had on him that were ginormous eyeballs. And he was talking about how a big theme of their event this year is going to be eyes. And so I'm thinking maybe we can see these shoulder plush eyeballs come to Not Scary Farm as well. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Everything will be revealed August 22nd for their Nightmares Revealed event. Tickets are $20 and go on sale August 5th at 10 a.m. if you are interested in getting those. Now, the last and final panel we went to, which was the craziest, and I think, honestly, in my opinion, was one of the best we got this weekend. I know Castle Dark was one of my tops as well, and so was 13th Floor, because we got a lot of announcements from them. But this is one that I was expecting very minimal announcements from, and we got a lot of information from this panel. This was Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. I'm going to run the video. Yeah,
cool.
that video doesn't show anything, really. For those of you just listening, it literally was a janitor sweeping the floor with some, like, sticky water substance all over the floor, and then it pans down into a sewer, shows a door, and this, like, disgusting, wrapped-up, bug-looking thing hanging that explodes and lets out this wild sound that then transforms the park into Horror Nights. But Horror Nights has been announcing things here and there before Midsummer Scream. They announced Insidious, The Further. They announced Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, A Quiet Place. They announced Monstros 2. They announced Dead Exposure, Death Valley. And then they announced Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. So that's what we had going into this. And John Murdy takes the stage and literally starts with an announcement, which I think is just so badass.
It was.
He just like went right
no
into
waiting,
it.
No beating around the bush.
Here you go. Here's your first announcement. And he announced the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the legacy of Leatherface, which I'm so excited about. I'm a huge Texas Chainsaw fan, and I'm a big Insidious fan too. I think those two are going to be my top for the year. But he announced that this is a maze that kind of is its own multiverse of Texas Chainsaw. It brings together all of the iconic leather faces throughout the movies and combines them into one maze. You're going down this slaughterhouse, and each section of the slaughterhouse is a different leather face that you see with a different, face on him, which I thought is really cool.
I thought it was really cool as well. And, I kind of love the history lessons that he gives here, because you can see how he got from watching the original movie, just the opening portion of it, and got to this idea for the maze. Is that you're going to the slaughterhouse that the Sawyer family worked at, and all of it for generations have worked there. And I kind of love that idea. Then he starts researching the slaughterhouse idea and all the things that happen in slaughterhouses to come with ideas for this. And then bringing, like you said, the various versions of Leatherface from the various movies that have been made throughout over the last, what is it? Oh my gosh. It's
50
been
years.
50 years?
50 years. They're celebrating
50
their 50th.
years of, and being able to do this. So I love that background that we get to it. I really can't wait to see what some of these slaughterhouse scenes, that first visually shows where the cattle would go in and out, back and forth, and looks like switchbacks. Yes. I can just imagine being there and being prodded with cattle prods to get through there and being chased. And he talked about the smells that are going to happen.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I am super, super excited. Out of all the mazes, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
I agree.
This has the most potential,
Yes,
I think.
I agree. I think this one's going to be awesome. And then he kind of touched upon the Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. He showed off some of those characters and kind of told a little bit of a backstory for those. So I think all we have left is a remaining house announcement and maybe a terror tram, if we get that. I think we're going to get that. I think he's already hinted at a terror tram.
Yeah, one more maze and a terror tram.
Yeah, so
I'm guessing we're going to get one as well.
those are going to be very cool.
I'm guessing we're going to get
And then he announced
They will be.
a scare zone yesterday, Luchadores Monstros, which that one is going to be taking place outside of Monstros 2, right there in the Parisian courtyard. I'm excited.
I'm excited for
That's
this.
so cool. He was showing
Same
some of
here.
these characters, and some of them are plays on characters you actually saw in some of these Luchadores like shows and stories and things, and some of them look like these classic Universal monsters, and that wasn't even done because we're at Universal Studios. That was done way before it, and now Universal Studios is playing upon that. So I think that's very cool.
Correct. Yeah, I'm super excited for this scare zone. I love the idea. I love the idea they do with Monstros bring in these other cultures, these folklore and these folk tales that they do with this type of stuff. So I'm super excited for that. And the luchadors, the whole idea of wrestlers fighting monsters just sounds
amazing,
fantastic,
amazing.
But I really hope that they go beyond this. I know we're in Southern California, so the monsters of Latin America make a lot of sense. But I hope they expand this to Japan, to India, to some of all these other cultures as we get into future horror nights as we go down the road. I think they'll still work even in Southern California.
Yeah,
I think
they will too. And I think that's something that John Murdy knows. I think that's something that he now knows with the success of Monstros that he can do. And he was actually kind of telling us that. So we interviewed John Murdy after, and he was telling us that the success that Monstros was originally written to be 2 parts, and that he never told anybody that it was going to be 2 parts, but he just told them it was going to be the one. And he told his business partner, you know, if the success of this first one goes well, we'll release the second one. And if it doesn't, no one ever knew that there was a second one. And it did. It was well received by the fans, and the fans loved it, so they released the second one. I think they can do that with some of these other countries and all these other stories and all these other things. And it's just cool to hear about things that are happening, you know, outside of just here. We have our own, you know, superstitions and stuff in here, and there's just so many others that take place outside of our little bubble that should be shared with us.
Yeah, that we should be exposed
exactly.
Because you're even with these, you're going to find movies that may not be in English, but you still find movies from these other countries. So there is some IP that goes with it, or some backstory that you can learn about this thing before you go. And I did that with Monsters last year. So, and knowing what some of the creatures are for this year, I'm going to do the same thing and find out what these things are, because it helps me enjoy it. That's why people like IP mazes, right? Because they can identify with it, because it's something they've personally been to a theater with and been involved in those stories. So I do like the IP mazes quite a bit because of that 100%.
Reason. And then he flashed a picture of some ice cream truck that I have no idea what the ice cream truck was. I have no idea who was on the ice cream truck. No idea. And then it said on the top, like, do not release this information. It was not announced yet. So he flipped right through that really quickly, giving us a little hint at that. And then he flipped through another one of this big Mama Crow is what it was called. And it was like this big crow. You've seen, I'm sure, videos of these crows at Horror Nights that are on stilts and are just massive. And they come at you and they're just creepy looking. And there's this one now that is Mama Crow, and she had her hair done, and, you know, she had her big beak in front and everything. And that one also said, do not announce, you know, do not talk about this, wasn't announced yet. So he flipped through that. But then this morning we got an announcement of Murder of Crows coming, which is another scare zone. So I'm excited for that too.
Same here.
Those crows are just terrifying. They're so scary. Yeah.
I'm excited for Universal this year. There's no doubt about that.
I'm very excited for Universal. I think that everybody is bringing something to the table that I'm excited about. There's not one event that I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that.
There was nothing I was disappointed with this year at
There's
Midsummer.
something to look forward to from every single one of these companies.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yes, absolutely. From home haunts to professional level haunts, there's no doubt.
And we're going to get into home haunt talk later in another episode of this podcast. There's so much to talk about with home haunts.
There is.
We're going to speak to people who do home haunts too. So I'm very excited for that. This is crazy. Midsummer Scream weekend has come and gone. I feel like this is the official kickoff to Halloween. Midsummer Scream, I always say it every year. Midsummer Scream is the kickoff to Halloween. Now we're in it. We're in Halloween. Start decorating now. I'm very excited to see what these companies have in store for us this year. Shout out to the Midsummer Scream team, John and Rick and Claire, and everybody who was on the Midsummer Scream production team. Shout out to you. Thanks for these invites to cover your event. I'm grateful that I get to come back every year and showcase a little bit of what you guys do and what all these other companies and other exciting things that they're showing off this year. Thank you, Chris, for joining me this week.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Yeah,
we're going to have to bring you on when we got Marina here too, so you guys can both kind of chat about things. We'll figure out another episode to bring you guys back on, because I would love to hear some of her input too, as not a big horror person.
I know, and she got engaged at the show. You saw that, right?
She did get engaged too. Yeah, the Terrifier proposed.
Jumped to a knee and put a ring on her finger at the show at Midsummer Scream this weekend.
Yeah.
So we're having a little bit of a tiff right now. Just kidding.
I cannot wait to bring you guys back
in.
on, and we can talk more Halloween and stuff as the
course.
season goes on. But go ahead and plug yourself. Where can people find you? Do you have big projects coming up? Do you have things you want to announce?
So yeah, you can obviously find all the content we do on our YouTube page, thewalkerchronicles.com. We do have the Walker Chronicles. On Instagram, we are THEE Walker Chronicles. But you can go to our website, which is thewalkerchronicles.com. You'll be able to see all the content we have on YouTube and on Instagram. And then what we did add just a couple of weeks ago, we added a SoCal haunt directory, where we list all the haunts, and we broke it out into professional, yard displays, theme park haunts, and home haunts. You can go in there, you can get all the details of where they're at, what the dates are. If we've been in there in the past, we've linked videos to those. If we haven't been there and they have a promotion of video, we link to it there as well. You can sign up and we'll notify you when we add something new to it, which we're doing tonight. But that's the best place to find out what we're doing and what we have planned coming up.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you are somebody in the haunt community that wants your name out there, send a message to me, send a message to Chris, and we'll get you up on their website. I can share information with Chris as well. We kind of like bounce off of each other when it comes to these events and things we hear. So if you send a message to me promoting your haunt, I'll be more than happy to share it as well as them, and I can let them know to add it to their website. And yeah, if you're listening, if you're major haunt or smaller home haunt, we would love to come visit this season. We are very excited for everything haunt related this season, and yeah, I mean, can't wait to have you guys back. Definitely check out the Walker Chronicles over on YouTube and on Instagram. That is the alarm. So that means it is the end of this week's episode. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere you can find me, at Disnoaland. I am going to be uploading YouTube videos as the haunt season comes up with all these different events. And we'll be updating you on fun things happening throughout Southern California regarding Halloween and haunts and pop-up events and stuff like that. So make sure you're following me, and I'll see you next week right here when the nightmare continues. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Chris.
Night, everybody. Bye, everybody. Thanks.